Hello, everybody, and welcome back to From This Corner TV. And I'm your host, Marilyn Dayton. And happy winter. Okay, I've got a blanket on, at least it looks like a blanket, but I was going to bring my dog and wrap him around my shoulders, but he's too big. It's cold out there. It was 0. We're not ready. Are we ever really ready for that? So it's winter here, so we're dressed nice and warm. And we have a very special guest today for you. I know I always say that, but I only bring special guests on my show anyway. Today we have with us Eileen Kaplan, and she's a hoot, okay? You're gonna really enjoy this.
Thank you.
And I've known Eileen for a while, and let me just tell you a little bit about her before we start. She is a speaker, first and foremost, and she has to be because of her personality. She's an author. I have the book right here, and I'll show it to you a little bit later. And she's an advocate. She's a health advocate and an advocate for women, and she is a breast cancer thriver. Okay, what that means is she's a survivor of breast cancer, but she has done wonderful things with it, if you can imagine. Okay, so she brings her message of healing and hope to audiences just like you. So you're going to enjoy this thoroughly. With her signature humor and her inspiring speeches, she discusses the emotional aspects of her journey from diagnosis to recovery with the enormous support of her family and friends. And I'll tell you something, I consider you a friend, Eileen, and I'm so happy you are here.
Thank you, Marilyn.
So you are an amazing, amazing woman.
Thank you.
So funny, so fun. But let me ask you something. We know what you're like now. What were you like? What was your personality like growing up and before cancer came in your life?
Well, I've always had the sense of humor. And really, depending on what part of my life experience I was in, I would always be doing something to expound on that. For instance, when I was a Girl Scout, I stole the cook's bra and put it up on the flagpole.
So you've been dealing with bras for a long time, girl.
Bras for a long time, even from the -A.
Oh.
When I was measured in the, by the bra lady.
Oh, jeez.
And now I'm in -A again.
A -A again.
Yes.
Boy, life goes full circle.
It
But
does.
anyway.
It does. And then I was always pulling stunts and always had quirky things to say and always turned difficult things into silly things. Like, I had this terrible rash all over my body when I was in chemo, and I had spots all over me. I had big blotches all over me. And when I went to see the doctor about it, and I was sitting on the edge of the table, and I opened up my gown, I still had breasts then. I opened up my gown and I said, "Look at the clown." And he's like, "Oh, is this really true? Is she really my patient?"
Wow, get ready for Eileen.
Yeah, we really had, Arnie and I kind of feed off each other. Mm-hmm. My husband's Arnie. And we had a lot of time warming him up. We had a really good time warming him up. And now, thank God, 9 years out, I'm very happy because I'm free of cancer. But we decided at the outset that we were going to crack the nut and bring somebody who is facing cancer every minute of his life and show him that we're funny and we can laugh too. Laughter is good. Mm-hmm. And we made him laugh all the time. And he tried not to laugh because, the two of us together, it's like, it's slapstick, I have to tell you. So, but it was fun, and we've become wonderful friends.
Well, now, your personality, okay, the normal stick that you are.
Yeah.
This doesn't mean you've been a comedian all your life.
No.
What it means is you have been in the serious business world before.
Yes, I've been in serious business worlds. Initially, I was an X-ray technologist, and seriously, of course, with, you know, people ill, you know, ill people, and always having a good time with them, making them smile, really, or laugh, and fooling around with the staff and doing little, you know, doing little Eileen tricks and stuff like that all the time. And when I had my entrepreneurial business, Paper Unlimited, for 20 years, I married brides and grooms and bar and bat mitzvahs and you know, age parties and 13-year-old parties. And so everything was always lighter. It was, I thank God I never had to do a funeral, really, in all those years, a funeral card.
Oh.
It was really, I mean, that's 22 years. So that was very kind of a lighthearted, nice thing to be involved in. But when after like the 21st year, both our girls were in college, and I needed to earn more money. So I became a real estate agent, and I was that for 7 years, and an award-winning realtor. And after 7 years, my girls said to me, "I think you can rest now, Mom. We're out of school."
Oh.
So I did that, and then I got a job with this Department of Labor, actually, with the state of Connecticut, and moved from there to the Department of Children and Families, and that's where I retired from when I found the second cancer that in my good breast, actually.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah.
When you discovered this yourself the first time.
Yes. Yes.
And what did you do?
I said, "Oh, this is not a cyst." I swear. I was in the shower, and I was checking my breasts, soaping up my breasts, and came up the right side, and I felt it. And it was not a cyst. I knew it wasn't a cyst. I knew immediately it was a tumor. I just knew.
But had you had tests and everything, the normal mammogram?
No, normal mammograms, everything.
Everything?
Every year. And and I just knew. I just knew it was different. And so I said, "I think I have to see a doctor." So at that particular time in my life, I was with a gynecological group in Boston. That's a really funny story. But anyway, I was in Boston, and I called the girls there. The staff knew me, and I told them what I found. And they said, "Don't run up right away. Have your primary care physician check it before you run to Boston." So I called my primary care physician's office, and she said, "Oh, Eileen, you have an appointment next Monday. Why don't you let the doctor check you then?" And I said, "I don't think so." Cancel the appointment and called Boston back. And the next morning I was in Boston having a new mammogram.
You didn't want to wait, did you?
Oh, you don't wait.
No, you don't.
No. I mean, a lot, you know, every woman is different. Some women will find it and they're afraid to know what it is. And they'll go for months knowing something's there and not going to have it checked. Sadly to say, it could be going from stage 2 to stage 3. You just don't know.
No.
You know? So I had another mammogram, and then I had an ultrasound right after that. And there it was, bright as day. And so from there I was referred to a breast cancer surgeon at Brigham and Women's Hospital. And that's where I met the second love of my life. He's a dear, magnificent surgeon, a magnificent individual, and if you have to see someone and you're going through such a difficult time in your life, you would want to clone him. He's just perfect at what he does.
Now that's not that's not normal. I mean, you don't normally
I know.
find someone
Yeah.
in the medical field that you click with
Yeah,
like that.
we did. And
'Cause there has to be that trust factor there.
absolutely. I knew, I mean, I was in Boston, and not to say that there are not good hospitals around here, but what had happened was a bunch of girlfriends, this is like years and years and years before that, we wanted to go shopping in Boston, so we all got in somebody's car, we drove to Boston, we passed the Brigham Ambulatory Building. We said, oh, let's stop in, make an appointment for our mammos next year. So then we can come in, we can have our mammogram and our checkups and go shopping.
Yes, that sounds
Isn't
like
it? It was
a
perfect.
plan.
It was a plan.
Yes.
Right across the street from Bloomingdale's. you know?
Perfect.
Perfect. So we did that. The 5 of us went in like a string of pearls, and we looked at the advertisement there.
The list of
the list.
The list.
Yeah, the list. And we found a group of 5 women gynecologists. We went in, and each one of us made an appointment with one of them.
Oh, that's
So we could
cool.
all go in at 10 o'clock and be out by 12.
Perfect.
And that's how I happened to be in Boston.
Wow.
But it's just one of those things that happens in life. That's where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was perfect because that way you were blessed with this doctor up in
Yeah,
Boston.
I was. I had a sick boob, and,
Yeah.
and I was blessed with, actually now he's the director of breast surgical services at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and Brigham and Women's Hospital, and he is a professor at Harvard, and he is a fellow, and he always has little fellows following him around. When you're in there to see him, it's like an anthill. It's like, hello, all these little white coated people, and so I've met doctors from England and India, and I mean everybody has seen my ditches,
Okay. All
and
right.
from all over the world, and it's been quite an experience actually.
There's a second book for
Yeah,
you.
he's renowned. He is renowned. He takes care of people. A princess came from Saudi Arabia, and they gave him a chair in surgical oncology donated to breast cancer at Brigham and Women's. A big chair. Not the chair was big. The donation was
Oh, wow.
enormous. Enormous.
Wow.
So he's, I told him, it doesn't matter where he is in the world. If I have to have a checkup, that's where I'm going.
Well, now that sounds like another plan.
Yeah, well,
That's
you
cool.
know, you need a plan A,
gotta
plan
have
A,
a
plan B, plan C.
So, okay, so here you were, and what we're going to do is we're going to continue with her story here, and then we're going to start laughing a little bit more, because this part of the story is really kind of serious.
Yeah.
So you found the lump, you went to see your wonderful doctor.
Right? And my husband told him that it was the most he ever paid a guy to feel his wife up.
I like Arnie. Never met him, but I like him already.
And he didn't know what to do. But
Yeah.
he did crack a little smile, a little tiny smile, and kind of blushed a little bit. And he probably thought to himself, what the heck is,
What am I
where
in
did they
for?
come from? But
So you decided to have this lump removed.
yeah, well,
Lumpectomy.
we went through. I went through all kinds of tests and everything, and I decided to have a lumpectomy.
Okay.
And the lumpectomy is really it's a minor, not a radical mastectomy.
Right.
They're just taking out the bad girl,
Yeah.
and going to the margins, meaning they're going out as far as they can go, to make sure that there are no other cancer cells left behind.
Right.
So I had a lumpectomy, and I had a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I always had something going on. I had the spots and the allergies and the you name it. I mean, I had a cyst, or I had necrosis, or I always had something going on. But it happened, and that's the way I handled it. It's just, if I had a cyst, take it out.
Yeah, because you don't want bad
You know,
stuff in your body.
And, and if it's not healing good, fix it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so that's the way I approached everything. I cried.
Well,
If you
yeah,
don't
you're
cry,
human.
if you don't cry, you're not human.
Yeah.
And there were plenty of times that I cried when I didn't feel good.
Yeah, sure.
So it's a mixed bag. But I think how you handle it is when you're crying, you stop crying, and then you go on to something else to lift you out of that spot.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what I did. That's what I did. And I
So-
do that to now.
So there you were. Well,
There I
I think
was.
that's the way you are anyway. I'm the same way. You get the crying and you face it, you own it,
Right.
as they say.
Right.
And then you say, well, okay, now what?
Got to go on.
So how much time went by before you found another
The second one?
Yeah.
The second bad girl was actually 5 months later when I was having radiation therapy. And I was, always checking my breasts. What
Yeah.
else do you do when you're resting? You check your breasts.
Okay.
And there it was, right up here.
Oh, way up there.
Way up, between two ribs, right next to my breastbone. The
Wow.
tiniest little bugger that it barely showed up on an MRI.
Wow.
So it was by far luck. I
Yeah.
mean, I can only say, because if I hadn't found it, it would have been maybe 6 months down the road,
Yeah.
and you
And
don't
who
know.
knows?
And
Yeah.
who knows,
So there you were. You go, oh my goodness, here's another one.
Two
What am-
bad girl breasts.
Two
yeah.
bad girl breasts. So
Yeah.
what did you decide to do?
Well, it was really my decision was I did have a foundation for reconstruction, which I had removed 4 months after I had my breasts removed because it was just too painful. But the decision I made to have my breasts removed was my decision for me. It wasn't, you should do this, you should do that, you should do that. I took a survey with 10 of my girlfriends. We're all about the same age. And they said, okay, take them off, take them off. They just said, Eileen, have a mastectomy. They weren't telling me what to do, but I asked them, what would you do?
Yeah.
And they
yeah.
said if they had found one or even maybe the second one, they would have them off, have them redo. Goodbye. And so because of the characteristics of the tumors that I had, it was really not a metastatic, thank goodness. It wasn't a tumor off of this tumor. It was a sole little bad girl all by itself.
Oh my goodness.
And neither of them had reached my lymphatic system. Very lucky. What do you call luck,
Yeah.
And because they were HER2 negative, which they cannot accept estrogen, and I would not have been able to have had medication to battle them. I would have had to have more chemotherapy, more radiation therapy, and did I want to live that way? Did I want to get up in the morning and say, well, let me check my breasts this morning before I get going because I want to make sure there are no others? And that's not the way I wanted to live my life.
Yeah.
So Eileen's decision was to leave my breasts in Boston.
And go visit them on occasion. Yes.
I don't know where they are. I don't know. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Don't know. But anyway, as I said, I started out at A minus, and I'm now an A minus minus. But that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I'll never ever be sorry with my decision, ever.
Because you're still here.
I'm still here.
For one
For me,
thing.
it was contained. One was a little invasive. The other one was a little invasive, but it hadn't reached my lymphatic system, and that is big. The
That is
lymphatic
big,
system
yeah.
is right underneath the skin, and
Yeah.
it carries the waste products and everything out of the body, and that was the biggest thing. But I have to tell you, when he told me when the test came back that it was a tumor. He said, well, Eileen, it could be metastatic. And that just blew me out of the water.
Yeah.
I was, really, it upset me because I didn't really want to hear that word.
Of
So
course
it's
not.
not that I have been crazy, wild, and funny the whole time. First, he wanted to see my bald head underneath my hat, and then he wanted to tell me that it could be metastatic. I said, what a day, you know?
Yeah.
So the tests came back that it wasn't. And it was not a normal thing that I had. It was called a recurrence, but it was not off the first tumor.
So they called it, oh, okay.
They called it a recurrence.
So they made the decision and you agreed to go through chemotherapy. And
I was already been through chemotherapy.
For the first one?
For the first one. I was in radiation therapy for the first one when I found the second one.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this book that you wrote,
Yes.
which is called Laughter is the Breast Medicine, this thing is so funny. And it's wonderful. It's wonderfully written. It's wonderfully illustrated. She has, in the back, she's walking 2 puppies.
Yes.
2 dogs.
Yeah, Shar-Pei.
2 Shar-Peis.
Yes. Those are my leftover from my breasts. That's what I call my leftover is Shar-Pei. Someone said to me, where are your dogs? I said, they're not with me here, but they're right here. And I said, I don't have to water them, and I don't have to walk them.
Yes, and you don't have to feed them.
And I don't have to pick up their poop.
And this is so cute because the dogs are pulling a bra, a pink bra.
Yes, they're schlepping a bra.
So it signifies everything.
Yeah. I'm walking out of the book healthy, basically, is what I'm doing. And with my second book, which is coming along, I'm going to be walking into the book healthy.
Ah, okay.
So,
I like that. I like that.
I've got all the ideas down, and it's half written, but right now I have different goals, and I have to concentrate on one thing at a time.
Exactly. Well, one thing that you're doing is you're making speeches all over the place, and she's on radio, she's on TV, and she has been pretty regularly. And your whole focus for doing that is to spread the message.
Take care of yourself. Know your family's health history. Most important, your father's side, your mother's side. Men are getting breast cancer now. They're dealing with prostate cancer. They're dealing with testicular cancer. I'm not afraid to say any of the words. Mm. And maybe because of my first job that I had in my life as an X-ray tech, I mean, I was with bodies every day. Mm-hmm. So I'm not afraid to talk about body parts or not having body parts. And I just take things as they are. But it never bothers me. And what I want people to know is, sure, you're afraid. I mean, that's your first thing. You're afraid. You cry. We cried. And I just want to get it out and let me go on. I just wanted to get it out of me and go on with my life. And it took a while, you know, until things came to fruition. But I just, I will never be sorry with my decision at all. The book came a couple years later. Actually, my breast cancer surgeon said, Eileen, you really should write a book. And I never had written anything before. And it just poured out of me. It just flopped out. I know it's a little tiny book, but I know that I have sold probably up to 5,000 books right now. And many, I would say a huge percentage of them have been purchased by people to give to other people who need the boost. That makes me very happy. Makes me very happy.
Well, I'll tell you something. I've actually read this several times because it's a great thing to laugh. And anything that you can read that makes you laugh is a wonderful thing. And I'll tell you, there's some, right now I'm looking for the chapter about, now where is it, when they come in the room and they're all, oh, there it is, I got it.
The little white coats?
This one.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
the chemo.
love this.
Oh, that
I
chemo.
love
Okay.
this.
Yeah, it's a funny one.
I mean, it's just, it's amazing. the nurse walks in to do the infusion nurse. Let me just read a little bit of this because you're going to love it. The infusion nurse arrived decked out in a protective gown and wearing rubber gloves. Bells and whistles were going off in my head. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The nurse said that they have to be very careful. If this red stuff in the 3 mega-sized syringes got on their skin, they'd get burned. If it got on the floor tile, it would eat a hole in it. What's wrong with this picture? You mean that's going to be injected into me? I asked. Don't I get a protective gown and rubber gloves? No, the nurse said. I mean, really, the whole book is like that. And you're sitting there, you're just howling because it's so funny. And I love the illustrator that
yes, he's doing my second book as well. He's, I've got him lined up. He's ready. He's ready for Eileen.
That's good.
But I just gave him my manuscript, and he just went, and that's what you need, you know.
That is what
he
you
needed
need.
the titles, and he just went with it. He was terrific, just terrific.
Well, he interprets everything perfectly, like the trash can that's on the front with the bras hanging out, because the bras have been
Thrown out.
Yeah, don't need them anymore. You know, I mean, it's just.
But you know, I still have, you know. What do they call it? Phantom bra. You know, I'll be walking down the hall some days, and I'm going like this.
Oh yeah, yeah, the adjustment thing.
The adjustment thing, and that happens. It's called phantom bra. I call it phantom bra, and that's what happens. I mean, it's just something that you may have done for 60 years of your life. Mm-hmm. Or 50 years of your life since you were measured for bras, and all of a sudden it's not there, and it's still this thing that's there.
Yeah, because it becomes part of our
part of
normal
part of your
activity.
culture, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And then I'll be running around the house in a t-shirt, and I hear a truck or saw a car drive up the driveway, and I say to myself, "Oh my God, I don't have my bra on." It's like, okay. And I run down the hall, and when I get to my bedroom, and when we get to our bedroom, I realize that I don't have to be there because there's no more bra drawer. It's a drawer full of eyeglass cases.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah, that's what I did though. I went to glasses instead of Victoria's Secret. I went to every type of eyeglass I could find that I loved, I have. So I'm a chameleon, what can I tell you?
Well, now I've heard you stand in front of a group of people and just kind of quickly. It's hard for her to quickly tell her story, you know, like your elevator speech or your 2 to 5 minute speech.
Right.
And this lady has so much to say that it's really kind of difficult to focus on what you want to tell people. But when you're doing a speech, I mean, you have been on major television.
Yeah.
You've been in huge auditoriums filled with people, and you are there entertaining both men and women and medical people, and you've got them all laughing, you've got them all thinking, and you are they're all relating to what you're saying because you're not afraid to say anything.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I mean, it's life. It's life, and it's a body part. And you know, a bunch of guy friends who get together occasionally, and you hear them talking, mm-hmm. and they're having some issues with the prostate. And one was saying, "Oh, I took 3 pills last night, or I took 4 pills last night, or I got up 4 times last night." It's like a club. It's a club. So one of them said to the other, he said, "Do you know when I had my prostate exam, it felt like somebody was shooting arrows up my butt." So after I finished speaking, this man came over to me and he had me sign the book, and he said, "I just want to tell you, Eileen, the arrows now have rubber tips."
I love it. I love it.
I mean, so you can make anything funny, anything
Yes.
silly. And I try really hard to practice turning negatives into positives every day. And that's what my daughter Marcy said, Mom, this is what we're going to do. We're going to turn negatives into positives. My youngest daughter was the cheerleader. And I did. Henny penny, the sky is falling. Well, run. I think,
Yeah.
you know, or, you know, somebody will say, oh, I'm sick of the snow. I hate the snow. Tomorrow it won't be there.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll melt. You know,
Exactly.
so that's what I do. That's what I do to stay positive and focus, is that I turn negatives into positives. And it could be very silly, stupid stuff, but it could be also serious. And
Well, you
I
were
still flip it.
And you affect the people around you in a very positive way.
I
And
try.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that in the second half. It's time for us to take a little break here.
Okay.
And we will be back with Eileen Kaplan, a very amazing, funny gal who's a speaker, author, and an advocate, and so much more. So we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. So stay with us.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Up, college is hard. Down, those books are heavy.
My sport is football, but my passion is education. So every year I take promising high schoolers on a college tour to show them that higher education means a brighter future. My name is NNAMDI ASOMUGHA. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
You can be a reader, tutor, or mentor too. Take the pledge at liveunited.org/volunteer.
It was the
Do you wear this?
manager of the healthcare program that I did at Aetna this past summer, September. And boy, it just like blew me out of the water.
Ooh, can we talk about that too?
We can.
Yes.
Let me get it.
I like that. Hello, and we're back.
Oh, we're
and we're
back.
just chatting away here.
What
We're
else is
talking
new?
about, we're here today on From This Corner TV with Eileen Kaplan. And we do know each other, so we're chatting away here. And she's telling me a couple of things, and I said, you know, let's talk about that. I want to talk about the speaking, okay? Because that's so important. That's almost as good as the book. Because you've got so many stories from that, and I love your stories.
I do.
So, tell us about the first time you made the speech.
The first time I spoke was at our local library. The librarian has the book, and she said, Eileen, let's get a bunch of people together. We'll get the resident in. I think it was the resident. I'm not sure which one it was at the time. And that was the first time I ever spoke in front of people about my book or how, you know, my emotions and whatever. So that was really the first time. But the first group I spoke to was a survivor celebration at a hospital in Connecticut. And my daughter and a friend of hers were way back in the audience because they had to check me out, make sure
Yeah.
I said everything, you know, I was supposed to do. And they told me they ended up crying because it just took them out of just blew them away. And she said, Mom, you did great. And then people stood up and clapped.
How about that?
Yeah. and then people asked to have their picture taken with me. And I'm really shy, you know?
Really?
And, yeah. So,
Oh.
yeah. And so what happened was 2 young women, like high school age, came up to me afterwards when I was doing the book signing, and they said, we would really like to thank you for what you said. It really was very interesting to learn all of these things. And I said, well, thank you very much for coming up to tell me, because it's very important for you to know this, even though you're teenagers, that your health is really important. Your health is really important. And to know your family's medical history, most important. Even if somebody had a melanoma removed from their nose way back in your father's history somewhere, you really have to know that, because that means it could be very prevalent in your family.
Yeah.
So the more you know, the better you are mentally healthy and physically healthy as well. And make sure you go for those mammograms. And now this whole thing is with dense breasts. You've heard the dense breast thing. So I'm very good friends with Nancy Capello, Dr. Capello, and she wrote the book, Are You Dense? Well, yeah, sure.
Love it.
Yeah. So Nancy wrote the book, and she was the person who got through the legislature in Connecticut that if you have dense breasts, your doctor or the radiologist has to inform you that you have dense breasts. Because what happens when you have dense breasts and you look at the digital or you look at the x-ray, it's very white. And those tumors could be hiding behind it. So then they said, you must have a mammogram, you must have an ultrasound. You must have an ultrasound. That is, if they tell you have dense breasts, you are to have an ultrasound. And the other piece of legislation she just got through was this month, actually, that your insurance company, and that was the first part, your insurance company had to pay for the ultrasound. And the second part that she got through recently was you did not have to pay more than $20 copay for that ultrasound.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's going on. It's in Rhode Island. I don't know if it's been passed yet, but dense breasts are a toughie because it's very hard to see if there are any tumors in there. It's like inflammatory breast cancer. You don't know you have it until you might find a little red spot on your breast, or you have suddenly a discharge from your breast, or one breast looks funny, you know, misshapen, and lobular cancer. They don't show up on x-rays. They don't show. They don't show. So all of a sudden, you've got a stage 3 cancer. And they're like on fire.
And they don't show up.
No, they don't show up.
Why don't they tell us these things?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I've been having mammograms for, oh my God, over 30 years, actually, because I started before I was 40, because I had a lump.
A lump.
And it was okay. But I have always had dense breasts. Well, I'm older now, so I don't as much anymore, but still.
They're fattier now.
They never said anything.
Well, you know, this is part of science, and this is part of learning, and this is part of taking it right to the face. One woman said to me, she says, you know, I have just recently I have dense breasts, and my doctor said to me, she wouldn't give me a requisition to have an ultrasound. I said, is she paying for it? She said, no. She said all the doctors got together after the legislation was passed, and they all decided that they weren't going to order ultrasounds. And I said to myself,
how can they do that?
I don't know. I just found it to be I won't order an ultrasound. So I said to her, go to another doctor.
Yeah, I would, definitely. You know, that's really important because we've been talking about how close you got to your doctor and that trust factor that's very, very important.
Right.
If you are not happy with your medical community that you use, whether it's your naturopathic doctor, whether it's your general doctor, whether it's your internist, no matter who it is, all the way to the dentist, okay?
Yes.
If you're not happy with them,
Go on
go
to
out
the
and look for another one.
That's exactly right.
Gosh.
Second
it is.
opinion, third opinion. I mean, really, it's your life.
Yeah.
You are, I always tell everybody, you are the queens of your body.
So you should take control of it.
You have control of it. Do you know? Why would she say no? I won't order it. Why?
That just makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. She said, Eileen, I've been getting these letters every year for years telling me that I have dense breasts. So I said, go to another doctor.
Yes.
Or
Definitely.
I said, write to Nancy Capello and tell her what your doctor said to you. Really, I mean,
You've got to fight for yourself.
you got to fight. You've got to
Yeah.
fight. Yeah, you do. You
And-
do. Now, you don't have to fight all the time, but you really have to know that you can take action. That you're the advocate for yourself, and it's your body. And there's a lot out there now that can help you, and take advantage of it.
Absolutely.
Do you know? And so many women are afraid. That makes me so
Yeah.
sad. It really does.
And you know, you've met so many people as you've been on television, radio, and
Right.
speaking to
Right.
groups.
Right.
And one of the people that you met and got to know is Joan London.
Yes. Yes.
Now, she is now battling breast cancer.
She is battling, yes. Joan and I are friends. She has a beautiful camp up on Long Lake in Maine, and she calls it Camp Reveille when she has 200 crazy women up there. Not really crazy women, 200 women who need a rest, but you really don't rest. I mean, there are a gazillion things to do, gazillions of things to do. I mean, you can sit in a chair and rest for 3 days. You can swim. You can do anything you want there, but there are all kinds of, Zumba's going on and all of this stuff. And I had met Joan at a conference, and she loved the book. And so she invited me to speak at the camp that summer. And I did. They were like, the lawn chairs were all out on the decks, and there were women sitting all over the place, and it was fun. And she loved it. She really loved what I said. She invited me back a second year, and I presented again. And this year, this spring actually, is when she was diagnosed with a triple negative breast cancer. It's an aggressive, bad thing. It's not a happy dude.
No, not a happy.
And I
dude
mean,
at all.
she went from mammogram on one side of the hall to ultrasound on the other side of the hall, and they said, "You're fine." They said, "You have cancer."
Wow.
So,
That is amazing.
Yep.
Now, when you-
we don't talk to each other, but I do relate to her and write with her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's those of us who watched her for many years on Good Morning America.
Right.
That's how I got to know who she was.
Right.
And admired her for many reasons.
Right.
And this camp, it just sounds like a wonderful thing that she did. What was the reason that she decided to have this camp?
Well, I think it was for women it was like a country spa. I mean, she had people there that if you wanted to go for a massage, you could. If you wanted to go for a facial, you could. If you wanted to beat the drums, you could. If you wanted to do the bowls, you could do that. If you wanted to Zumba, you could just, it was just 3 days of meeting. There, women came from all over the country.
Wow.
Actually, it was her husband's camp. And after the kids leave, we are there. You know, the people who want to attend come in for a 3-day weekend. And all the cots you get a Tempur-Pedic on your cot. I mean, Joan doesn't fool around.
I guess not.
So it really was a wonderful opportunity, and I also spoke with her. She was in New Britain, actually, not last year, the year before, at the Race Through the Park, and she was a speaker there, and I followed her as their keynote. So I know Joan.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're all trying to follow her and pray for her and everything.
She's battling. She's doing well, but she's battling.
Well, she made the decision to get rid of her hair.
Yeah, she did.
Before she went bald.
Yep.
Because she said, you know, this is all about controlling myself.
That's right.
And my body.
That's right.
And you know what? If I'm going to go bald, I'm going to do it myself.
My way.
Yeah, my way.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, you've got to really admire people who face facts and say, well, you know, I'm going to take care of this situation.
Right, exactly.
Because it's my life.
That's exactly.
It's me. And I think that's one of the things that people get from you.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. As a matter of fact, I somehow connected with a female rabbi in New York, and I sent her my book, and I sent her a bunch of history and everything. And she wrote back to me, and she had read the book, and she said what she thought of at that particular time. She was getting ready for the high holidays in the fall, for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, where you kind of bare yourself and strip yourself of your sins and everything, that you go out with a clean plate for the year. And she wrote me again after that, and she said, Eileen, I just have to tell you that when I read the part of your book when you went out in the backyard with your husband, a mirror, the shaver, and your daughter, and you shave the hair off your head, how meaningful this sort of thing is, that you are allowed to, that you did that. This is something you had to do. You went out and you did it. Basically, she didn't say it exactly that way. What she wrote was just extremely emotional. And you said at the end, well, you know, bald isn't so bad after all.
Exactly.
And that's coming into the holiday part of it, where you have to clear yourself. But it was emotional, very emotional when she wrote that to me.
Now, you also heard from someone else recently. You were starting to tell me at the break that you, the Aetna?
Yes, I spoke
Yes.
I was invited to speak at the Aetna Health Fair this year in September. And I received a testimonial letter from the coordinator of the health fair, and it just blew me away. I just really have received 3 magnificent letters. One from Elizabeth Argelis, Dr. Argelis, who's at L&M at the Breast Cancer Center, where I recently spoke to the Survivor Celebration. We had a blast. I had him, this poor guy sitting in the front. He'll never go to anything like that again. Sit in the front row. I said, have you been checked for testicular cancer? I thought he was going to explode. And we had a fabulous time. She wrote me a beautiful letter. Lucia wrote me a beautiful letter. And I spoke in April at the St. Vincent's Celebration of Women, which is a video actually on my website, and also up on YouTube. And it's sometimes hard to understand that this is how you have affected people, because you don't really realize it.
Exactly.
Until you're told. I mean, you do what you have to do. You think you did okay. You think you got your point across, but when you get it back, it really takes your breath away sometimes.
Well, I know that what you're doing is very fulfilling for you.
It is.
But to hear that it helps other people, which is really what you want to do, and that validates that you are accomplishing what you want to accomplish.
Yes, I'm so happy. One woman walked in at a signing and said, I carry your book under my armpit, it's my Bible. I said, I maybe need, could be deodorant? No. Yeah, she was, you know, and this is what I'm getting. And it just, I've had a couple of letters that weren't as up, but I would say close to 99% of everything that has been written of me and back to me since I started speaking has been just absolutely phenomenal. And you just don't realize it, that you're doing what you're doing, but you don't realize the impact.
Well, I think the way that you do it, with your personality, not only are you talking directly to people, mentioning body parts, just, you know, telling it like it is, okay? But she's so funny when she does it. And really, if you have not read her book, okay, it is called, again, Laughter is the Breast Medicine. And what I'd like the guys to do in the engineer room is bring up your contact information, because her website will have a lot of information on it. And there's her website, and there's her phone number.
Right.
And I'll tell you something, if you're looking for a speaker, okay, that's really going to be interesting, that people are going to learn a lot from, like I've been learning a few things here today. You really need to talk to Eileen, okay? She's just wonderful.
It doesn't have to be breast cancer.
It doesn't have to be
can
breast cancer.
Any issue or illness or anything that you might have to approach in your life, and you need a lift, you need inspiration, you need some laughter, you know, laugh at yourself, learn to laugh at yourself. That's really what I'm trying to do.
Well, you are inspirational,
Well, thank
and you
you.
do it with humor, and I think that's the whole key. Because, you know, you can read inspirational books, you can hear inspirational speakers, but the ones that make you giggle, the ones that make you laugh, the ones that make you blush a little bit, are the best. And she is. Okay, so there's her
Thank you.
contact information.
Thank you.
Write it down,
Thank you,
okay?
Marilyn.
And go to her website. And there's a lot of information on there. And there's videos that,
Yes,
that are on
yes, there
there.
are videos, there are radio interviews. I've got Marilyn's podcast you're going to be coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing a podcast next week with a young man who wants to take clutter out of your life by emptying the clutter here, not the clutter off your desk.
Gotcha.
So I was at another speakers meeting, and when I had introduced myself, he came running up to me and said, "Can I do a podcast with you?" I said, "Oh, sure, absolutely." He said, "Will you just say it as it is?" I said, "Don't
worry about that."
Don't worry about that." And so it's. And then I may be doing another one. I'm doing also a short video that I won 5 minutes of time with my eWomen Network, which is
Yes.
really a wonderful organization.
Indeed it
and
is.
I decided your 5 minutes was you could stand up and tell about yourself and what you do and everything. I decided to do a skit. Just give me a mic. I had it all planned in case I won. And I won't tell you about it because we have it ready, and it's just a snippet we've taken off of it, and the end is, you know, doesn't let you in on the whole skit.
Not the whole skit.
No, not the whole skit. But that's just me. Just hand me a microphone and away I go.
And you're shy, you say.
Yeah, I am.
Well, you know, I used
Someone
to be shy.
Someone said to me once, said, said to me once, I liked your bracelet, or I liked it, and I said, "Oh, thank you." And she says, "Say thank you, Eileen." I was like, you know, it's okay to say thank you. I mean, it's like, you know, I'm just kind of shy away from, "Oh, you have a beautiful, whatever. I love your shoes. Thank you." You know, it's like just part of me. People laugh because my girlfriend the other day, I make her wear earrings. Oh, she only puts them on when she's with me. I said, "You have to finish your outfit." So we were together at a party, and she said, "See, look, Eileen, I have my earrings on tonight."
Well, you know, I almost put earrings on today, but it's so cold out there. If you've, as a girl, you know that if you put earrings on and it's really, really cold, the metal gets really cold.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have, I wanted to do this instead. So I did wear my earrings today,
I'm
which
glad
I
you did.
normally do, just in case you noticed.
Okay.
Okay,
that's
since
all
we were
right.
talking about that.
But we were hysterical. She said, "I knew we were going to see it."
Yeah. Eileen, this has been wonderful. It
Thank
was
you, Marilyn.
too short. You know, an hour is not enough.
Thank you
And we
very
were
much.
actually very laid back because when we talk, a lot of times we're like, you know, talking at the same time and laughing at the same time, and it's great. But I'm so glad you were here.
Thank you very, very much. This is what I love to do. I love to be able to be out there and allow people to know that they are their bosses. They are bosses of their bodies, and that you can laugh. I know there are horrible stories. I mean, look at these people from the Boston bombing, and they've lost legs and limbs and arms, and they're running around on metal and you know, all kinds of prosthesis. So that's part of it. It's
the attitude.
It's the attitude.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to train your brain, because usually when something happens, you can easily go to negative. You know?
Exactly.
But to train your brain just to take it and suck something positive out of it, or turn it into something silly, it works.
And you know, they're even saying today, I was reading something earlier today about meditation and how healing it can be. You can actually, if you've had cancer, if you meditate on a regular basis, it helps your body to heal itself or to keep itself healthy. And I think it's the same thing with laughter. Laughter can take any situation and make it better.
Well, my aunt, when I had my surgery, she loved humor. In her wheelchair, my cousin used to bring her to the library, and she used to take her right to the humor section. And she used to read Irma Bombeck. She used anything that had laughter with it.
That's amazing.
So she said, when I was sick, she said, "Eileen, I wasn't just going to send you one card." So she had these little note cards. She was very arthritic and couldn't write very well. And every day, I received a card from her with a joke in it.
Oh, I love it.
So I have 30 cards.
And you kept them.
And I have them.
Of course, you have to
Absolutely,
keep that.
yes. And that's the chapter in my book on lymphedema, the lilies. It's my Aunt Lillian.
Oh, that's where that was.
She said, "Why'd you have to name me after something so bad?" I said, "Just think, you'll be with me all the time."
Exactly. Well, I'd like to finish up the show here with a quote, okay? And this quote I found from Maya Angelou, a late, great woman. And it kind of fits today's show. It's, try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. That's taking the positive and trying to get rid of the negative that we've been talking about, okay? So next show, we're going to have Jane Percy here, and that's going to be wonderful and terrific too, but I'll tell you, this has been very special. And I'm so glad you could join us today, and remember to check out Eileen's website, okay? And our website, send me ideas, let me know how you feel about our show. Until next time, stay warm.
Stay well.
And stay well.
Sneeze into your shoulder.
Goodbye, everybody.